So I guess I'm just going to open up with a few questions, and then we'll open it up for Q&A after. Throughout the film, we follow a lot of Chela's story, and so one of our questions is, what brought you? You've been an pretty active member since 2014. What brought you into the OVAs, and what kind of led you to find your, path there?
So thank you for having me here. It's actually my pleasure to be here, and it's a privilege to be here as well. So I first heard of OVARIAN PSYCOS through, social media, and following the first clitoral mass in 2011, I was pretty much stuck on the idea of like women empowerment, self-sustainable, do-it-yourself type of stuff. And I knew my life revolved around that without me even having to meet them in person. So I first started working with Comida No Lomas, which is a collective, a self-sustainable horizontal collective for food justice. And what we would do is we would receive donations from farmers markets and liberate food as well, and also dumpster dive, because Los Angeles and all of the United States, it's consumer-based, but we end up throwing the majority of the stuff that we don't use, which is useful for a lot of families, and that's why there's a lot of low income. But aside from that, so the collective, Comida No Lomas, once you know one collective, you pretty much know everyone in the organizing world out in LA. And from there, I started joining them for clitoral mass from 2013 to 2014. And then the Sister Leaders in Transition process started for me in 2015. And ever since, I've pretty much been core. Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned the clitoral mass and organizing around the clitoral mass. Can you kind of explain a little bit maybe about what's different about clitoral mass from some of the other rides, nationally and in LA as well?
So, OVARIAN PSYCOS was supposed to be like a punt or like a play on words, and especially to attract attention. It's kind of like in your face, specifically focusing on cis women. And unfortunately, we haven't really been able to bring in transgender or gender non-conforming folks into the light because we live off of our own experiences. So we did a play on word for clitoral mass as well to grab people's attention. And we did a pretty good job, and we started doing this annually to pretty much bring to light that the bicycle community is white, male, prominent, and we wanted to take up space. We need to take up space and continue taking up space in order for us to start talking about the most uncomfortable points that people of color, specifically marginalized folks, go through. And this was the beginning of the entire story, and we're always bringing it back to the community and not exploiting or fetishizing, the idea of East LA or Los Angeles. Like, we're gonna take you where, we're gonna take you in the underbelly of LA, like where tourism doesn't go. Like, the people needed to understand that, yes, we're women empowered, but we're also women of color, and we are also marginalized. I can go off on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. No, thank you for sharing that. I think for one of the questions that I had was in the film itself, one of the scenes is Andy describing, I think it's Andy, she's describing the 6th Street Bridge and kind of that connection between downtown LA and then what is East LA. Can you speak a little bit about what your experience is and what that means?
So based on my own experience, I live in Los Angeles in the university section closest by USC. and it's considered South Central to a certain extent. And you can see the difference when you go off the Arts District onto East LA. And it's the same thing to South Central. You can see the difference between downtown going to South Central passing Adams. It's like it's a battle zone going from one side to the other. And that's environmental racism at its core. Like, there's no way you can't see that. You see poverty crossing Wood Street, but on the other side, it's clean and well kept. Like, why is it that you can't have street cleaning on the other side? Like, what's the problem? Aside from that, like, I feel like the 6th Street Bridge right now, like, it's being destroyed and like reconstructed into the idea of like a passageway to our side of the city, and it's not okay, because not only is it bringing in displacement of families, it's also bringing in the idea that people are welcomed to come in and fetishize our culture, our way of living, pretty much us, and taking away that community is not, it's not for the working class, it's for those that will benefit from it. Ignoring the fact that we've been there for so many years and we're not going to go away that easily. We've actually started a lot of coalitions, Defend Boyle Heights. DBH is a coalition, and some of my sisters are part of it. And what they do is they pretty much bring on to like the problems of gentrification with art galleries that have been coming in onto East LA. Kind of like the intrusion, because once you start seeing galleries in the community, you pretty much start seeing people walking by and thinking that they can come in and displace families and that it's their community as well, when it's not.
Yeah, I think you spoke a lot to the gentrification, environmental racism, and I think one of my questions is, why is the OVA space so imperative to the community? And I think you touched on some of these, some of the answers, but why is taking up space as women of color necessary in order to resist?
There's a lot there. Okay, so I'm going to start with the idea of feminism. So it was feminism at its base was for white liberal feminists, and it pretty much diluted the idea of feminism having it been gender equality. Like, it's not women over men, or men giving space to women. It's equal gender, horizontal, non-patriarchal ideas of living, and that comes into our core 13 principles that we women of color are going to take up space to bring back and actually make it known that not only is the world going to change by itself, like, we have to be the change agents in our community in order for us to even consider that change. La Concha was first also, so La Concha was on First Street, kind of close to the bridge, getting close to Little Tokyo, and we were displaced by an art gallery. So we had to move, unfortunately, but it was in our own benefit. We got closer to the heart of the community, and strategically speaking, like, it's amazing. We get to see the community in the most raw fucking aspects of everything, from the way we live to like the way we organize, and they're actually with us all the time. But from us being displaced to being with the community, I think it gives us more reason to point out that not only are we being displaced, the families around us are being displaced as well.
Thank you. Can you speak, just one more, can you speak a little bit to some of the programming specifically that comes out of like the La Concha and what you all are doing? Like, I know there's like psychotherapy happening right now, the Lunar Rides, and we saw a little bit about what some of the collective is doing. So just speaking a little bit to some of the programs right now.
So it's for the people, from the people, and the programs that are being facilitated right now are by the community. I myself facilitate psychotherapy, and the idea was to take away from the 12-step non-traditional groups that are European-based and make it more people of color, herbal medicine, alternative medicine, and making that a priority was part of our 13 principles, which is, staying always to our roots, our healing, our mental healing, our physical healing, and our spiritual healing. And that's actually something that I myself want to continue doing. And the other sessions, there are self-defense warrior women classes going on that my sister Joss the Boss facilitates herself. And then there's also open mics that Chela facilitates. And there's a lot. Usually in the weekends we have events, shows to pretty much fundraise. So it's a collective, grassroots collective, so we don't receive any scholarships or grants or any support from the government. We're pretty much fuck the government, we're anti-state, we're always going to be that way, and it's always going to be self-sustainable, it's always going to be for the community, from the community.
Thank you for that. So I think at this point I'm going to open it up to some questions from the audience. So we can go around, and whoever has a question, feel free to grab the mic. Vera has the mic out here. Are there any specific questions y'all have?
In the front first, maybe.
Oh, right here. Oh, so right up here.
I didn't see it. Hi, I'm Doris Duke. I write screenplays. What was your budget for this, and how long did you shoot it?
I honestly don't know, but I know it took about 3 years to make. From 3 years, because the folks that are on the documentary right now, they're not even active with us anymore. The only ones that are present right now is Chela herself and Joss the Boss, and that's it. And I don't know about budgeting. We actually have, we're in the works right now with that. Yeah.
Have you heard of Eckhart Tolle or Carlos Castaneda?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, Eckhart Tolle, his best book, I think, is A New Earth. And it's about the human ego. It'll help, if you read that book. The earth is only mentioned twice in the title, and there's explanation of the title. The rest is about the human ego. Carlos Castaneda, and he has no stories. Eckhart Tolle has no stories in the book. I mean, it's all just what he's trying to teach you. Carlos Castaneda, the book I found most impressive is A New Earth. The Power of Silence is his 8th book. There's a lot of stories in there, and a lot of good information too. But the end result of those stories are explained by Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth. So the combination of the two work really well. And, it's kind of a grassroots thing, a personal thing, and may help your group in doing whatever they want to do.
Oh, thank you. So our principles are based off of Zapatista and communism, and always bringing it back to our traditional ancestors. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because we're actually changing our consensus-based That's how we organize. So we're changing our consensus base to kind of like, unfortunately, kind of like a democratic organizing, and always bringing it back to self-criticism. So yeah, I'll definitely look up to that.
Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Grace Alvaro Pelicta, and I just want to thank you for coming on and representing your group, and I really appreciate feeling your leader, like feeling the origins of the group through you. And it really speaks, I think, to the governance model and the strength of your sisters who have held that kind of space, because I feel like it reaches to me too about some of the efforts that I've been part of over the years. And it speaks especially to me as a mother who has tried to figure out really thoughtfully about how to carry forward the lessons of what this work means for our children. And so I don't really have a question, I just wanted to share my gratitude and appreciation, and I hope that there's a way that we can communicate that to the whole collective, because I don't see a lot of narrative pieces that tell that story of how we bring our children forward, you know. And I see a lot of burning out, I see a lot of that same kind of grist with groups, you know. It just kind of is the nature of what happens. We sometimes reflect what's going on outside, inside. And so I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of all the organizers who are trying to really heal themselves and be forthright with that process, because I don't think we get enough of that modeled. So, thank you.
There's a lot of points that I want to kind of bring out through that statement. I just wish I had a paper and pen, because there were so many. So definitely and always we're going to put our seventh generation, the children, in the front line all the time. This isn't for us, this is for them. This is something that we need to break through and break the silence in order for them to have something to work with already. And I want to take it away from the individual perspective, and I want to elaborate more on the collective perspective, because the collective is in itself the movement, and I feel like that individual points of views dilutes the message. And I want you all to remember that it's not our own personal stories that make up the collective, it's the struggles that we have to go through daily that people actually go through themselves. So it's the general perspective of that. And speaking onto our roots, I actually want to respectfully bring up and thank the indigenous folks that were first here in Hawaii. Unfortunately, just like every other state in the U.S., colonization happened, and I feel like sometimes we don't look at that. We kind of shy away from that. I don't know if it's self-preservation or ignorance, but I feel like it's definitely something that needs to be brought up, however uncomfortable it may be.
Two more questions.
Hi, I'm Eloise, and I also just wanted to thank you for being here, and the film was just so lovely, so inspiring and so moving, and I too was just very moved, I think, as a mom too, and also as someone, so I live in an intergenerational household, and so I have my son, and then I also have my mom. As she's getting older, there's an interesting sort of dynamic there. This idea of reclaiming space for yourself and for your community, or the communities that you connect with and you feel you're a part of, but also for the people that you love. And I was just curious, because there's this interesting relationship between us and our mothers and our parents, the ones that raise us. I'm just curious, within the collective and within the community that you work in, how that relationship is like. I mean, in the film, it seemed like there are things that were being worked out. You know, there was some tension there, but a lot of love. But the ways in which you communicate and sort of build bridges of understanding, you know, because there have been times in my youth where my mom would look at me like, oh my God, but always with love, you know. And then now that I'm older and, you know, I have a child, but then also I think it's a very, she comes from a particular generation, you know, she's Filipina, Catholic, you know, so I'm just curious, like, how that relationship is like within the collective.
Like how we work out our differences type of thing?
The intergenerational.
Yeah, the intergenerational relationships between
Ourselves and our mothers?
And grandmothers.
and grandmothers.
I can't really say much on that because I feel like that's like a personal experience. But for me specifically, I fucking love my mother to death, and she's my best friend. She's the reason why I'm here, because it's a privilege for me to be here, being an immigrant, a Mexican-raised immigrant in the United States, especially with the fascist shit that's going on right now. I really thought that I wasn't going to be able to make it here. And with that, like, I thank her because she took the risk to bring me over to the U.S. unknowingly, whatever would have happened to her. And I feel like the respect and sometimes the difference of opinion, I feel like communication's the key with me and my mother. And we try to work it out as much as we can. I've introduced her to my sisters, and I wanted to kind of have her be in that personal space with us in order for her to understand the organizing that's happening at La Concha. I feel like sometimes the older generations tend to kind of be very conservative, and I definitely understand it, like, by all means. It's just that sometimes there needs to be change in certain times and periods of our lives in order for us to progress. And I feel like she understands that, my mother understands it, and when she doesn't, she communicates it with me. And I feel like that's how we bridge the gap in our difference of generations. And I feel like that's happening on right now with us and getting the younger generations, our 7 generations to come. With the political turmoil going on right now, I feel like it's being a little bit more productive in a certain extent. People are being more aware and more active, and especially the youth. And I always have to say, like, the younger you make them aware, the better for them and the community itself. So, yeah.
There was one more question.
Sorry, I had a problem with the mic yesterday. Thank you so much. My name is Kira, and it was an awesome feminist conscious raising film. I'm so glad that I got to see it tonight. I have a ton of questions, but in particular, I think having seen the films yesterday that middle school and high school women produced, I really wanted to ask you, since you brought up a few times about how it's important to broaden your community and really thinking about some generation and kids in the future. In particular, side note, having recently found out about the Radical Monarchs in the Bay Area, and that's super awesome, like young women's feminist organization. I didn't know if you guys had, were trying to grow like a teenage girl or teenage woman contingent, and if so, did you have to take different tactics? Or how was that a different experience, or really just sort of reaffirming for you, or just want to know about that?
So we don't pressure anyone on our ideals or our organizing styles. If they feel that they want to organize, then most definitely by all means. But we focus more on youth, women of color. There's been a lot of people coming towards us asking us to make a new chapter or open our doors to white women, and we definitely close our doors to that because it's taking away from the point and our struggles. We need to unite ourselves first in order for us to even open the doors to that idea. And you mentioned how we're trying to organize with the youth. Right now, what's going on at La Concha is I facilitated the. Okay, so every season we change rotations on our leadership. It's somewhat like a leadership. So on rotation, I got merch. So I facilitated a printing station, do-it-yourself, self-sustainable printing station at La Concha, and that's kind of like bridging the gap into youth. There's a collective called Zines, the Zine Collective for youth. They're coming into La Concha now, and they're pretty much making their own shirts. And I feel like the art form is one way of bridging the gap. And then again, also informing them of what's going on in their community. And especially right now, we've been canvassing around the community, asking folks to come in and organize themselves. So it's not only having the tools and showing people how to do it, it's also telling them that they have the power and the means to do it already. And saying that too, like, what comes to mind is the government shouldn't be, the government should be afraid of the people, period. If we only knew the power that we have, we wouldn't be here right now.
Thank you for that. Just one more. I think we have a question up here. Are we? We have to close this.
We run out.
Yeah, no. And I just want to thank you, Pam, again, for being here and for sharing your insight. And I think speaking about the 7 generations to come and really centering our struggles and really knowing what it means for women of color to come together and to center our struggles around what we know we must fight for and resist for. So I just want to thank everyone here tonight. Thank you, Vera. And we look forward to speaking some more. Locally here in Hawaii, we are trying to organize a ride for DV Awareness Month. And so if you're interested in organizing that, you can come up to me and we can talk a little bit more about what that would mean for this community here specifically.
And then we're also tabling our merchandise out in the front. So autonomous space means self-sustainable, right? So where does the money come from? It comes from the public. It comes from donations. It comes from our merchandise. You can also look us up on OVARIANPSYCOS.com, shop, Etsy account. It's all there. We have exclusive stuff. And then we'll also be showing you where the money goes. So the printing station came from that donations. And we keep on, we're able to keep the doors open up for the community outer space because of donations as well. So thank you.
Please donate.
Please donate.
Yes.
Eco.
Okay, this was great. Thank you so much.